Welcome to the Human Observation Lab. I'm New York, your host and observer. Today, we're looking at a fascinating trend that's been quietly reshaping how major technology companies understand human behavior.
Hi everyone, I'm Juan. I saw something interesting in the news recently. It said Google, Intel, and Microsoft are hiring experts who aren't economists or psychologists. That seems pretty surprising for tech companies, right?
Indeed. According to recent reports, these tech giants are actively recruiting anthropologists and ethnographers. At first glance, this seems counterintuitive. Why would companies built on data and algorithms need social scientists who study cultures?
Exactly. These companies have all the data in the world. They know what we click, what we buy, how long we watch videos. Why would they need someone to observe humans the old-fashioned way?
That question brings us to the core of today's analysis. The answer lies in understanding what data can and cannot tell us about human behavior. Let me explain the psychological structure behind this hiring phenomenon. First, we need to understand the fundamental limitation of behavioral data. When companies track clicks, purchases, or viewing time, they capture what people do, but not why they do it.
But isn't the why implied? Like, if someone buys a lot of healthy food, we can assume they care about their health, right?
That assumption is precisely where problems arise. In psychology, we call this the fundamental attribution error, the tendency to explain others' behavior through their personality or intentions, while ignoring situational factors. Data cannot see context.
Context? You mean like the situation they're in?
Correct. Let me give you an example. Someone might buy healthy food not because they value health, but because they're trying to impress a new partner who is vegetarian. Or perhaps they're recovering from a health scare. The same behavior can have completely different meanings.
Oh, I see. So the data just shows bought vegetables but misses all the context around it. That makes sense.
This is where anthropologists become valuable. They practice what anthropologist Clifford Geertz called thick description, the detailed account of not just behavior, but the cultural and contextual meanings behind it.
Thick description. That's an interesting term. So it's like the difference between saying, he winked, versus, he winked to share a private joke with a friend?
Precisely. Geertz used exactly that example. A twitch and a wink involve the same muscle movement, but they have entirely different meanings. Data captures the twitch. Anthropologists interpret the wink.
So tech companies have all this data showing muscle movements, but they're realizing they don't understand what those movements mean in context.
Now let's examine why this matters from a psychological perspective. Humans are what we call meaning-making creatures. We don't just respond to stimuli, we interpret our environment and act based on those interpretations.
Meaning-making creatures. That's a beautiful way to put it. We're not just input-output machines.
Exactly. This relates to a concept in cognitive psychology called schema. Schemas are mental frameworks that help us organize and interpret information. Two people can experience the same situation completely differently based on their schemas.
Could you give me an example?
Imagine two people walking into a crowded cafe. One person, who grew up in a quiet rural area, might feel overwhelmed and anxious. Another person, who grew up in a bustling city, might feel energized and at home. Same environment, different schemas, different reactions.
And I'm guessing data about how long they stay in the cafe wouldn't tell you why one left quickly and one stayed?
Correct. This is why companies like Intel have employed anthropologists like Genevieve Bell, who led their user experience research. She discovered that people in different cultures use technology in ways that defied the company's assumptions.
What kind of discoveries did she make?
For example, she found that in some cultures, families valued shared technology experiences over individual devices. This insight influenced how Intel thought about product design for different markets. Without anthropological context, these insights would have been invisible in the data.
So it's not that data is useless, it's that data without context is incomplete. like having pieces of a puzzle but no picture on the box.
This theme of understanding humans beyond surface behavior appears in other news this week as well. At Tokai Gakuen University, Professor Homa's criminal psychology seminar teaches students to distinguish truth from lies.
Oh, lie detection. That sounds exciting. Is it like what we see in movies where they use machines to detect lies?
Actually, Professor Homa teaches that detecting lies isn't about technology, it's about developing what he calls sense through careful observation. Students learn to notice micro-expressions, inconsistencies, and contextual cues.
So it's more about human observation skills than machines?
Precisely. This connects to our earlier discussion. Whether it's anthropologists studying culture or criminal psychologists detecting deception, both rely on understanding context, not just collecting data points.
It's like, humans are complex puzzles and you need to actually look at the whole picture, not just count the pieces.
Another related trend is the growth of coaching psychology in workplaces. The Japan Coaching Psychology Association is offering courses on engagement and coaching. This reflects a shift from managing employees through metrics to understanding their psychological needs.
I've noticed more companies talking about employee engagement and well-being instead of just productivity numbers.
This shift represents what psychologists call moving from extrinsic motivation to intrinsic motivation. Traditional management relied on external rewards and punishments. Coaching psychology focuses on internal drivers, meaning, autonomy, and purpose.
So even in business, there's this recognition that humans aren't just machines that respond to inputs. We need meaning and context.
Let's step back and analyze what these trends collectively tell us about modern society. We see psychology departments hosting open campuses, tech companies hiring anthropologists, universities teaching lie detection, and workplaces embracing coaching psychology.
It feels like everyone is trying to understand humans better. Why now, though?
We're experiencing what sociologists call data fatigue or metric fatigue. Organizations have spent decades collecting more and more data, only to realize that understanding humans requires more than numbers.
That really resonates. Sometimes I feel like I'm drowning in information but starving for understanding.
This creates a paradox. We have more data about human behavior than ever before, yet we feel less confident that we truly understand each other. The solution isn't more data, it's better interpretation.
So the future isn't about collecting more information. It's about developing the skills to understand what information means.
Exactly. This is why anthropology, ethnography, and qualitative psychology are gaining value. They don't replace data science, they complete it. Data tells us what happened. Context tells us why it matters.
New York, this has been really eye-opening. I used to think psychology was just about understanding individuals. But it seems like it's really about understanding the whole picture, context, meaning, culture.
That's a wonderful insight. Perhaps the most important observation from our lab today is this: in a world obsessed with measurement, the most valuable skill may be interpretation. Until next time, keep observing the fascinating creatures called humans.